Welcome to Curveballs and Lemonade. I'm so excited for today's episode. I have on the podcast today Candice Kennedy. Candice has an amazing story following a really serious health scare. Her transformation is nothing short of incredible. She is inspiring, she's resilient, and I'm so excited for you to all listen to her. Let's dive in. Hi, Candice. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. You're here today to talk about a pretty significant health crisis that you had and the transformation that followed. Before we dive in, let's talk about how we know each other and how we reconnected. Do you want to go or do you want me to?
You can start.
Okay. All right. So I'm probably going to be aging us, but Candice and I have known each other for over 40 years. And we met in the third grade. That's when I moved to California, and I ended up in the same third grade class with her. And we became friends, and then in class and then outside of class, we started playing soccer together. And we played soccer together for 5-6 years. Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah. And we were an awesome team, the Silver Stars. We were competitive. We traveled. We did all kinds of really fun stuff. And we have a lot of amazing memories from that time in our lives. And since then, we got older. We aged a little bit. Okay, fine, maybe a lot. And thankfully, people knock Facebook all the time, but thankfully, because of Facebook, we're able to sort of keep tabs on other people, right? For lack of a better way of saying it. And I've always kept tabs on you, and you post way more than I do, but I've always loved your posts, and we just always had a connection, even though we really didn't stay that much in touch. And recently, I started seeing you had a transformation, and you were posting a lot about a particular gym that you went to. We can talk about that later. But I was curious, and so I started, going down the Facebook rabbit hole of clicking, what's this gym that she's doing? And I realized, oh my gosh, it's literally down the street from me, and this is a amazing gym, and I need to know more about it for me, for my family. And I couldn't contain myself, and so I reached out to you on Facebook about, maybe a month or maybe 2 months ago, probably about 2 months ago. And it just kind of spiraled from there. Did I get that right?
Yep, you got that right.
Okay, awesome. And I'm super excited that you agreed to come on and tell your story, because you have a phenomenal story. And I'm so honored that you're here. And I can't wait for everyone to hear your story. So, I can talk about what it is, but you're the expert on your story. So let's talk about, you had a health crisis, and it wasn't that long ago, in the grand scheme of things. So, but before we,
2024, yeah.
End of 2024?
Yeah, towards the end of 2024, yeah.
Okay. So before we get to that point, take us back sort of right before then. What was life like for you? What was a typical day like right before the crisis?
So, just to kind of give you a little bit of backstory, right before I got sick, I became a full-time caretaker of my father. COVID kind of entered the picture, and so I had an additional responsibility of taking care of my father, which, takes a toll on somebody physically, mentally, and not that I would change it. Love my father. But there's a back seat that you take.
Yeah.
And that's where it's very important for caretakers to take care of themselves, and you try to find yourself juggling and seeing where you fit in the equation. So prior to getting sick, I was so focused on making sure that he was healthy and that he was living and that he was okay, that I was kind of neglecting myself.
Yeah.
And that's a very hard balance that people have, and that's why it's so important in my journey now to make sure that people understand that we matter, that we're just as big as the equation of the people that we're taking care of. Um, and I started kind of just, I was at my heaviest I've ever been. I think that was depression. I think that was feeling like the world was just steamrolling me, trying to do everything, trying to handle everything, and it just took a toll. So metabolically, stress is, I have to say, one of the number one killers, because, if you can't control that, then everything starts to kind of just pile on. My health was really with high blood pressure. I had, at the time, that I got diagnosed, I was in my laundry room, not understanding what was going on with my body. I was the heaviest I've ever been, and I passed out in my laundry room. And I was like, I kind of woke up mid doing something, taking out of the dryer. And I walked over to my dad and I was like, he goes, "You don't look good." And I'm like, something's not right. I do not feel okay. Um, you know, uh, my health prior to that, I've had some kind of up and down yo-yos of everything, of like going through a spurt of becoming very active. I had really bad knees and I was still on the
Yeah.
heavier side. So I started modifying and I started cycling. So I always felt that I was kind of like fit to do stuff,
Yeah.
but there was a much bigger picture and layer that was just kind of a ticking time bomb just to get to that
Yeah.
point. And so, I ended up almost being hospitalized. I was diagnosed with diabetes. One of the things that I was going into was an onset of DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And I immediately called my doctor. And my doctor was actually, he's in the reserves, and he was actually on base. And he took my phone call, and I said, something's not right. We went through everything. I saw him the next day, and that's where my journey started. He pretty much said, "Look, I'm going to get you where you need to go, but I need for you to meet me halfway." And when you're talking with a doctor, you know, it's a difficult place to be, because you don't want to be that patient that is kind of like struggling. You want to make, you have to do the work on your end. And this
Sure.
is where the testament of how much you want it comes into play. And so, I had a lot of things going on. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. My blood work was all in the red. I was at least 500 with my sugars. My A1C was like 11.5.
Wow.
And I was either, I continue to go down this path, or I'm in the process of putting myself in a position where I'm going to die. And when you're a caretaker and you're taking care of somebody beside yourself, um, you don't have that luxury.
No.
You don't have that luxury. And so it was a driving force for me to make sure that I live. And I really kind of just take it by the horns and take it to the next step.
Let's talk about that next step. I know that your doctor played a significant role in sort of getting you on that path. Did your doctor or someone else, part of your medical team, kind of give you a clear path forward? Or was it more of a, you know, you have to improve somehow? Or, I guess what I'm asking is like, was it a specific path, or was it more like you just have to get better?
So with my doctor, how I found my doctor is kind of funny, because I went from one type of insurance to another. And I was very used to Kaiser, had great experience with Kaiser, but then I became into a PPO, and I was like, oh, I got to go find my own doctor. And I happened to be driving down the street, and I was like, just give me a sign. I just want somebody I trust. I want a doctor that wants to help me, not just write a prescription and send me on my way.
Sure.
And I happened to be driving by, and it was Cross Medical. And I was like, well, that's a sign for me. I'm Christian. And I was like, wait a second. He looked into it. He had everything from hormone replacement to internal medicine and everything. And I was like, let me look at this guy and see what he's all about. So that's how I chose him to begin with. And he was, prior to me getting sick, he was the doctor that I went to that I trusted. So he was the first phone call that I made when I was not feeling right. And he was the doctor that showed up, and he said, look, medically, we're going to have to do what we need to do to get you going forward. And our goal is to get you going forward, get everything lined up, such as your support team, your medical team, and let's get you there. And he was very, very, very involved. I was just amazed on the accessibility that I had with him. I could email him, I could call and leave a message, and he's like that small town doctor.
Yeah.
He makes himself that kind of a doctor by
That's
not
amazing.
being in a big practice. And to me, that's exactly what I needed. And that kind of segues into, my trainer, which we'll get into as well. And that was the hope, that was a light in the tunnel of knowing that I could trust him and knowing that he had my health in his best interest. And he was very strong with me. And he said, look, you got to meet me halfway. I'm going to get you there, but you got to meet me halfway, and let's figure out why it is that you're in this place. And then let's not punish you for the things you can't do and you can do. Let's find a way for you to do it moving forward. And that was the key thing.
Finding the way. So what actually had to change in your head before you were able to start making all of those physical changes that were such an important part of your journey?
The first question that I said in that moment of despair and in sickness is, am I worth it? And I had to really sit down and look at myself and go, am I worth it? And when you start to kind of measure your worth and the things that you do, that's where I kind of just went, wait a second, I'm worth it. These people believe in me. I'm going to believe in myself. And they want to help me. I'm going to accept it. And I'm going to meet them halfway. And that's where I kind of had that turning point where I was just like, it's just not me. I have somebody else that I have to take care of, but at the end of the day, I had to do it for me. And I had to know that I was worth it, and I had to want it for me. And that is a hard place for me to be because I'm not a selfish person, but I had to do that selfish moment to activate what now became my journey.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Let's talk about your journey. Let's first talk about food, because we could talk about the exercise part forever,
exactly.
right? Okay.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk about food. We don't have to spend forever talking about it, but I know that you eat clean now. But let's talk about what changes you made right away with eating.
So the changes that I made right away is, oh my, I am diabetic. That was the weirdest thing for me to now grasp. In the process of that, I didn't really know about diet. I didn't even know about diabetes. I didn't know what raised sugar, what didn't, what was bad, when you could have it, how you could do this. And so I just started immediately as a diabetic, now that I've, been diagnosed, and was sent home with a paper. This is what you should not eat or you should eat. And immediately, I started removing the carbs.
Yeah.
And then I started getting curious of like, well, I can't remove all the carbs. So what carbs are good? And I started introducing vegetables, and I started introducing more clean food, like organic meat. And I'd never been a person that would shop at Sprouts. I'd never be a person that would be looking in the organic section. And I started looking at things to where I was like, wow, everything that I'm eating affects me. And I can see it by checking my sugars. And it was kind of a journey with food because I didn't know all the things that I was eating that I thought were healthy were not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is like, what did you learn about how that food was affecting your blood sugar? Because there is a lot of misconceptions about
Yeah.
how food affects blood sugar. Some people, and some people think that certain foods will cause a spike and they totally don't. And some
Yep.
people think that certain foods would be not cause a spike and then they completely do. So what did you learn as you started
Well, one of my
taking
biggest
measure of
one of
it?
my biggest things in the beginning of being diabetic is, I loved soda. And soda was obviously not the best thing. Obviously, carbonation, lots of sugar. And, I was like, oh, I'll have a soda here or I'll have a soda there. And that was now completely removed. So, having been clean, eating clean, if I have a soda, I can identify at this moment of how much my sugars will rise. So to think that I didn't know that before, I can't even imagine what my sugars were at that time.
So you
So
were keeping track of it then.
I wasn't, yeah, I wasn't keeping track of it. I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't know what it was, So, I can eat bananas. I mean, it goes and it comes right back down. I learned in eating rice. I eat jasmine rice, but I don't eat it the day of. When I
If it's
make rice, I
okay.
eat it as leftovers. I eat
Okay.
it as leftovers. Because once it goes cold, it stops I guess what is it? The glycogen, the glucose or whatever, it stops and it
Okay.
slows it down. So if I eat rice when I first make it, and it's warm and I can check my sugars, 2 hours or an hour or whatever, and it will spike up. But
Interesting.
if I get it out of the refrigerator after it's been cold for 24 hours and I
Hmm.
heat it up and then I add it to it, I'm totally fine.
Interesting.
Which,
Now,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's weird. Yeah, it is kind of strange. Now, when the information that you got when you first got diagnosed, was that it that you used, or did you work with a dietitian or your doctor? How did that work?
So I worked primarily by just doing research because everybody's body is different. And the
Yeah.
only way that I was going to know was by identifying what I was eating, what I could eat, what I could not eat. And I didn't end up becoming with a dietitian. All of the research that I was doing, in addition to the information that my doctor had given me, I would consult with him. And he would be like, yeah, okay, this, that, okay, that's good, and, it gets a little pricey when you have, you're going to the doctors once a week and you're constantly in contact with the doctor. And then, dietitian, it became very hard. I was in a position financially where I was just like, everything was kind of coming at me, so I was really kind of doing the research on my own. I was eating certain foods and I would be like, well, why is my sugar going up? But this is one of the things you can have on, with being diabetic. Like you can have this, and some people you can, and some diabetics you can. And I was like, well, let me check this out and see what it is. So I just started doing a lot of research on the internet and just started creating a portfolio of everything that I've done for me. So when I talk to people, I go, look, everybody's different. Everybody's body is different. You have to really kind of get to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And everybody's different. You can't put yourself in somebody else's shoes because what works for them might not work for you.
Got it. So what does your relationship with food look like today?
A lot of food prepping, a lot of grocery shopping. I do not eat out. If I do eat out, I'm just very particular. about certain things that I eat. My appetite is very minimal. I don't eat a lot. I have a very small portion. Um, and I think some of that is just, in the beginning of when I was diagnosed, there was a lot of medication that I was taking. And so it definitely was suppressing the appetite of, because I just was not feeling good.
Yeah.
It was just a very hard on the body. And so you kind of get into a habit of training your stomach, training your eyes, training everything to go, okay, I'm just going to eat, small quantities of stuff and just kind of keep going and making sure that I have the nutrients that I need. But a lot of food prep, a lot of chicken, a lot of fish. If I do lots of vegetables, and protein, 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 lots of protein.
Yes. Okay. Great. Let's talk about exercise, which is that thing that reconnected us.
Mhm.
Let's not talk about now. Let's talk about before. So back in those early days, right after your diagnosis, when you were not feeling great, and as you said before, you were the heaviest that you were. Where did you start with exercise, given how sick you were, and what were you able to do in those early days?
So, how I started the exercise was, I started walking, I started walking around the school because I was like, oh, I'm going to walk around the school and I'm going to try to do this myself. And I, got halfway through that walk and I started to cry, um, because it was the hardest thing to do for me. And I was like, I am not okay. I cannot do this by myself. And this is where my trainer comes in for exercise. Um, I maybe about 8 months earlier, before I got diagnosed, I was walking around a school in my neighborhood, and I had saw this house that had a sign, and it had a Chuck Fit, and it had a phone number, and I'm like, is this guy like training out of his garage, or what is he doing? And I kind of glanced and I kind of looked and his garage door was open and he had all this equipment and he was doing his thing and exercising and I'm like, is he a trainer? So I couldn't really grab it. And I got home and I started thinking about it, going, I'm going to reach out to this and see if he's a trainer because this is perfect. It's personable. It's in a house. It's right around the corner. I'm not exposed to people in the gym because again, I'm a caretaker for my father, so I can't get sick because they'll
Right.
get him sick. And I called him and I'm like, "Are you a trainer?" He says, "Yeah, I'm a trainer. Come over for a consultation." And I'm like, "Is this for real?" Okay. So I ended up meeting up with him and that was the beginning of my friendship with him. And I did a couple of sessions. And I have to say, my mindset then, I wasn't sick then. I was on my way to being sick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a priority. It didn't click. Something didn't click. And so I did like 2 or 3 sessions with him. And then life happened and, work and all this stuff or whatever. And exercise was not a priority.
Yeah.
Fast forward to when I got diagnosed. Um, I knew that I needed to have him in my corner. And I called him and I said, "Hey, Chuck," and this makes me really emotional. I said, "Hey, Chuck, it's Candice." And he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "I'm not okay. I'm really sick. And, but I want to do this. Will you take me on?" And he says, "All I need for you to do is show up and I'll carry you the rest of the way." And in my early days of exercising, Judy, I couldn't finish 10 minutes of something.
Yeah.
I was just getting winded just being on the treadmill just to walk to warm up.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Look, we'll do it 30 minutes. We'll do it 20 minutes. We will do it however long you can do it." And we decided at that time that we wanted to make sure that we were doing this. And he's got 30 years of experience, so he knew exactly what he was doing. And he says, "Let's make sure that we could see what we're doing with your body and see how you're responding to things." And I had a Garmin watch, a heart rate monitor, and he held my watch and he watched my heart rate. And I would be at like 170, 160, and he would be like, "Okay, now calm it down. And calming
Yeah.
it down was like turtle mode. Like, to me, I was going full force, and he's like, you're not there yet. You're
Yeah.
you're 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 sick. We've got to get you to the point where you do this very slow. So he took me from 40 down to 4 of speed, and taught me about patience and sustainability. And you're not going to build Rome in a day.
No.
This is going to take time. And to me, I'm an all or nothing kind of person, but I didn't have a choice in that moment. And he was the person that stood by me to walk me through that, and was there every time that I fell and every time that I triumphed. And he's a very big, important piece of this journey, as well as my doctor and as well as my friends and my family that have supported me along the way. So
He sure is. And we'll get back to your support system in a second. Just real quickly about the exercise. As you progressed in your journey, like what exercise surprised you? Was there something that you were shocked that you would even be able to do it, or that you even liked doing it?
I was shocked that I could, when I first started doing planks. Planks are like the hardest thing ever,
Yeah.
because you're holding your body weight up, and
Yeah.
it's just all you. And I was like, how am I holding 287 pounds, which was, I have no problem with that. I can say my weight, but I was holding it, but I wasn't holding it. I was
Yeah.
struggling holding it. And there would be moments where I would be like, I could barely do 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And consistency, as time went on, I kept getting lighter and lighter, and it
Yeah.
kept getting easier and easier. And that was one of the things where I was like, if I can do a plank and I can hold it for a minute, 2 minutes, that's gold to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that I was very, very happy about, getting to that
Yeah.
point, to being able to do a plank, period.
Sure.
So yeah, that was kind of like my big win.
That's amazing. Now, if someone is sitting there in a 280-pound body thinking, I can't do 5 minutes, there's no way I can do 25 or 30, what would you tell them about the exercise piece?
There's no such word as can't. It's a choice. It is a choice. And you have to give yourself grace. You have to be okay that if you did 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes more than zero. And if that's all you can do, you gotta be okay with that, because you're not going to be that 5 minutes forever. You're going to be that 5 minutes that's going to turn into 7 minutes. You're
The
going to
next,
be that 7 minutes that turns into a 10 minutes. And it is about stacking it and giving yourself little goals. But the key thing is consistency, and you have to want it. And that's where, I give advice to somebody who's that heavy, or they're starting the journey. And the first thing that I tell them is, look in the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I want you to be okay. And I want you to be healthy. And I want you to want this for you, not for anybody else, but for you. And that was a very big thing for me, because there are a lot of things that adds on the pounds. Emotional, the outside atmosphere of society, trauma, having things that are unresolved that you've never really dealt with, and next thing you know, they're rising back up. Not understanding your body, going through menopause, and going through the change, and all of a sudden you don't recognize yourself. And that's really hard, when you don't recognize yourself, especially when you're sick and you're
yeah,
looking at yourself going, how am I even here? And what happened? And it's about self-love, and it's about taking that first step. and each time that you take that step and you go 5 steps back, you still have the ability to go forward.
You
There's
sure do.
always a forward. You just have to want it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about sort of where that journey took you. So you had the diet in place, you had the exercise piece completely there. You lost an amazing amount of weight. Not, I won't say it's a short amount of time, but it was not an incredibly long amount of time. But let's talk
Yeah.
about. I'll let you say the number. How much weight? How much weight did you lose, Candice?
127 pounds.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, it's
100. Yeah. Since
okay.
since September 2024 is when I was diagnosed.
Yeah,
And it's consistency, 3 days a week.
yeah,
I work out. I work out with a personal trainer 3 days a week, and on the off days, I do walking. Walking is the best. And granted, at 287 pounds, I didn't have the knees to support that. I'd always had bad knees, and getting the weight off of it was great, but also training
yeah,
all the muscles around it to support the knees. I'll never be able to change the bone on bone,
yeah,
but what I can do is I can change the muscles around it to support
yeah,
it better and know what I can and can't do, like jumping or certain things. Well, obviously I can't change the dynamic, the anatomical bone on bone,
sure.
but yeah, so it's been diet, it's been exercise, it's been consistency, and it's a non-negotiable for me. I treat it as a lunch hour for myself, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah,
I sacrifice a lunch through in my work day, and I go work out, and it's consistent, and I have the most amazing place of employment that encourages us to be healthy mentally, physically, and knows that they know that that's the non-negotiable for
yeah.
me. Yeah. And that's what I do.
Amazing. 127 pounds. Wow. Okay. What beliefs about yourself did you have to unlearn?
What beliefs about myself did I have to unlearn? Well, one of them is, am I worthy?
Yeah,
Well, damn, I'm worth every penny and then some. And that shows in the way that I think in different scenarios. Unlearning that about myself has helped me excel professionally, be a better caretaker, because now that I'm taking care of me, I'm able to excel in taking care of my father and being able to do the things that I couldn't do before. And when you're kind of going the right path, everything kind of just clears its way and it works in your favor. And I feel like doubt is something that I always had before, where I was always on the fence about it, and I had to unlearn that. You don't doubt yourself. You you have to give yourself more credit than you do, and that is and trust yourself.
yeah, absolutely. Um, where are you medically today? Don't
Yeah.
give me your health
Yeah,
record.
yeah.
Talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it. You're off medications. You're obviously still have, do you still
Yeah,
have type 2 diabetes or
I am managed. I still have type
okay,
2 diabetes. I'm very, very well managed. I went from 7 medications down to 1.
amazing.
And the rest are just supplements, magnesium, all the other stuff that you need, the vitamins, B complex, all of that stuff, because it all plays in a role, especially when you are working out. You have to make sure that you are able to, your body has all the nutrients that it needs.
Yeah.
And, one of my accountabilities is I have a scale that I use that allows me to make sure that I am on the up and up with not losing muscle. Okay, do I need to drink more water? Do I need to eat more protein? And it kind of allows me to just see inside all of my hard work
Yeah.
and where I'm at. And it's when you're kind of when you're kind of an analytical person, which I am, I like to see numbers.
Yeah.
Um,
Data is
that's
data,
a
right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, data is data, but
Yeah.
your body, let me tell you, your body is going to do whatever it's going to do, no matter what you do, and it has sometimes its mind of its own. You think you can get it dialed in, and then all of a sudden a curveball comes in.
Love that.
Yep, a curveball comes in, like what I
Sure does.
experienced last month. Last month.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh.
Okay. So how has healing your body healed yourself emotionally, spiritually? Because you talked about you were, it was you were dealing with trauma mentally. You were not in a good space. The stress of being a caretaker, that's a lot on a person, let alone a person who's carrying that weight. So you healed your body. I mean, I'm still floored, 127 pounds, and I'm even more impressed by your attitude and your energy. But how did you heal yourself spiritually and emotionally in the process?
I started protecting my peace. And I say that in a way, I had to learn what my peace was. And I had to learn where that place in my heart and in my mind, in my soul. I had to find me again. And that's where it's so important. And it's kind of a full circle moment with you, Judy, because some of the trauma that I experienced was during the time that I was playing soccer, and that was a very, very um, hard time in my life, being 10,
Yeah,
and just having that and dealing with that as an adult, and having that rise back up, and then having the opportunity to thank you, thank your family, um, thank your father for being such a pillar and being able to keep the normalcy of my childhood at the time. And as an adult, as I'm healing spiritually and I'm healing emotionally, all those play a big role on being okay physically.
yeah,
And when you're facing those things, you are tackling them, but you got to embrace them. You got to allow them and not look at them. I don't want to say look at them as trauma, but you've got to embody it. You've got to allow it to be the fuel to your fire. And it's okay. It's a part of your DNA. It's a part of your cloth. It's a part of your sword. It's a part of your armor. And it will allow you to just excel forward.
yeah. Be the
And
person.
that's,
Yeah, be the person you're
yeah,
supposed to be.
yep.
Yeah,
Just be you.
yeah. Okay, I got just a few more questions left. All right, back to the nitty gritty. What small habits make the biggest change for someone in your position who's entering a period of transformation?
Give yourself a dedicated 2 hours a day. That is for you.
I love that. Yeah,
I give myself an hour and 10 minutes that is non negotiable, and that is working out.
I
I
love
give myself an hour in the evening where I turn my phone off on Do Not Disturb. And that's the time where I meditate, I do yoga, and I allow all electronics outside. And I tell myself that I'm going to be in a place where it's going to be calm, collected, and I'm going to put myself in the right mindset to get up the next day and tackle it.
I love that. I mean, that's great advice, even if you're not going through a journey, right? I mean, we all sort of need that time for us, but especially if you're going through um, a transformation following a health crisis. I love that. All right, last question. If someone listening today is at their lowest point, physically and or emotionally, um, what do you want them to know? What advice would you give someone who feels trapped in their situation? Maybe they're pre-diagnosis, maybe they recently had a diagnosis, but they're feeling trapped and, in a bigger body with health challenges. What would you want them to know?
I want them to know that I was just like them. I was hiding. I was in a bubble. I was scared. I felt alone. But in the end, I really wasn't. I really was not alone. There was everybody around me. There was resources. There's people. There's friends. And the only way that I knew that I made a difference in other people, or I was able to open myself up and share my struggle. It's not a bad thing that you're struggling. It's reminding you that you're human. It's what
Yeah,
you do with the struggle. And it's I don't know, I just feel like, until I started opening it up and started opening me and sharing my journey and sharing me, I didn't realize how many people needed to hear what I had to say.
absolutely.
And I feel that, like, you don't have to go out there and announce your story, but take that first step. Reach out, find that one person and listen and see who else is going through it. And you'll never know. You might just end up with a community full of people that is on the same path as you, and then you're not alone. And that's the thing, you are not alone.
No, you're not. And thank you for sharing that. I did see you had posted, I don't know, 6 months or so, you were gifting someone a
Yes.
training session. I mean, how incredible is that? I mean, to have that gift, you gifted someone, I think, was it a
Three
couple,
sessions.
three
Yeah.
sessions? I mean, you're literally giving people the tools, not only by your inspiring story, but you're paying it forward. You're giving people an opportunity to have that motivational trainer that put you on the path, that helped you with your journey, that's continuing to help you. You're giving someone else that opportunity, which is really amazing. You're a remarkable human.
Oh, thank you.
And I am so thankful that you've come on and shared your story with us today. And my last question is, will you come back? Because I want to follow you. I know you're in your journey, but I can't wait to see where you are a year from now. And I mean, obviously we're friends in real life, so we're going to be in touch, but I'd love for you to come back on. Will you come back and
Oh, most
share?
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's big things in store for you. You're really, truly one of the most inspiring people I know. And this is really why I wanted to do Curveballs and Lemonade, because there are so many people who have found themselves in positions like you have, really in a bad place, health wise, mentally, emotionally. And I really think that they're going to draw inspiration from your story, because it's really, truly a remarkable story. And the reality is that with the amazing advice that you gave, that alone can motivate people to follow along a similar path and get them to make that phone call to the doctor, the dietitian, the trainer, whatever it is, even the therapist, whatever it is that they need to get them on their own health journey. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your
Thank you for
story.
having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to Curveballs and Lemonade. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss a new story. New episodes drop every Thursday. Follow us on Instagram at Curveballs and Lemonade and on Facebook. For audio listeners, make sure to check out full video episodes on YouTube at Curveballs and Lemonade. Engineered by Robert Altschuler, Curveballs and Lemonade is produced by Command Creative Studios.